Hey internet, what's up? It's me, lo-fi musician and producer, Blue Sirens. And this is where I hang out on the internet and talk about anything that's related in music to comic books, anime, gear, whatever it is, you can find it here. And today, I want to talk about the Grammys. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So, the Grammys just finished up. There were a lot of people we thought that were going to win that win, like Kendrick Lamar and Beyonce and Chappell Roan. And I want to talk specifically about something that Chappell Roan said that got me thinking and how the music industry could change from what she said. So, if you don't know, Chappell Roan was on a label, got dropped, and then made this huge giant comeback and became the star that we know today. So, what did she say that really got me thinking? Well, Chappell Roan said that record labels don't really have musicians' backs. They don't really support them, and they need to be supporting and helping developing artists with giving them a livable wage and health insurance. And that would honestly be great, and that would be nice. But I want to put that into perspective real quick, because there are artists that are developing that may become the next most popular artists, like Chappell Roan, that are out there, that if they could just have a livable wage to where they can do music the majority of the time, they could get better quicker and they can make better songs. And then there's other artists that are trying to get to where that is. And then there's like major artists. There's artists in all tiers. So what is an artist that is a new and upcoming artist that could fall into this category? And how would this work with record labels? So if you're going to be a new up and coming artist, I honestly think this would work out exactly how my last video I did about James Blake taking on the music industry. If you're in that level of being a musician, that you could take advantage of Indie-Fi, where you're putting your tracks up, the ownership and the rights and the streaming profits, you're letting other companies have a share of that ownership so that they want to work with you and make that song more popular. That's all what Indie-Fi does. That's what James Blake did with Indie-Fi. If you're in a category or a position where that's the next step for you, this is definitely something that I think would be the same category that Chappell Roan is talking about. Artists that have a good following, or they are recognized as a great songwriter and they just need time to develop and become better so they can be more appealing to labels or the majority of the population. And music is so subjective. There are some things that we don't think are going to work that will work, so sometimes this is hard to pin down. And this got me thinking too, how do we find out who's going to be the next artist? Sometimes we just don't know, and it's just, what blows up on TikTok, and it's just what's going to stick to the wall. And it made me think, well, we got to find a way of doing that, and we got to find a way of finding out who's going to be the group of artists that are going to be with these labels, and how's it all going to work. So let's first line out how it's going to work with the labels, and then how we're going to find talent, and then how's it all going to come together. So if we're going to be working with labels and we're going to say, we are going to be musicians and we're going to give you music and we want a livable wage and health insurance in return. Well, that's going to be tough, because I think most companies that provide employees health insurance, there's an expectation of what you're doing for that company. And again, music is so subjective. It's hard to know, is this music going to do really well? And also, as an artist, music is very personable. And it's sometimes hard to say, yeah, I can give you, 15 tracks a year if you're just not feeling it. Not that we're not feeling creating, it's just we not be able to deliver you something really good with pressure that I have to do this. So there needs to be some sort of give and take, either I need to be able to show you that I am working on something, or I have some sort of creative plan that's going on, and I'm going to deliver a product to you in a timely manner, or ask for extensions or whatever it is, kind of lay down the contract, and in return you're going to guarantee me X amount of dollars every month and health insurance or whatever it is, and see how that goes. Now, record labels kind of screw people over, because they may, provide money and you have to buy your own health insurance, but then they also charge you maybe for media relations and production and distribution, a whole bunch of stuff in a way to like make money back. And they also sometimes end up owning your music, so they make all the money that your music's making, and you make a very small percentage that they give you. So in an ideal world, this kind of scenario would go into effect where you as a musician, you own maybe the majority of your music. You own 50% of everything that it makes, and the label owns the other 50%, so that they are trying to, make sure you're getting what you need, but they know that as long as you're doing well, they're also going to get what they need. So, and that could be like a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan, whatever it comes down to ownership for these things. But hopefully as a musician, as an artist, you're able to retain 100% ownership of your music for, as long as possible, or be able to save 50-50 split for however long. And in return, you get those benefits, and you get some investment into you. Because sometimes labels, they do like, hey, you owe us 3 albums, and those 3 albums have to be delivered within 10 years, and we're just paying you up front, and then you don't get anything until that's finished, which is a really crappy contract. I mean, imagine if that's what happened at your job, if they're like, hey, you're going to come work here hourly for 10 years, and you just got paid all that up front. Like, you may blow all that money or lose it or something. So having it broken down into some sort of livable wage with benefits makes sense, and it makes you be able to be productive and more sustainable. So I get why Chappell Roan, is asking for this in general. Her experience alone, like when she got dropped from her label, she went to go work at a movie theater and was like serving popcorn. Like, she had an hourly job, and she had to make that comeback, and it's a tough comeback. So I get there needs to be some stability for artists, for them to be able to make the best work that they can make. And some artists, they thrive on, that pressure, but not everyone's like that. We need to have some sort of stability, so where we're not always feeling the pressure of like, we have to do this. Like, we need to be able to feel that we can, protect our mental health, protect our wallets, and still be able to make great art. And that all kind of goes in the contract with those clauses, and that's another conversation for lawyers. But honestly, how it's just going to break down, I think, would just be an exchange of goods and service of, I'm providing this amount of music under these conditions, and you're providing me healthcare and these benefits, and we're splitting ownership for a certain amount of period, and all those things are kind of like what a lawyer would sort out. But I think that's the right path to go down, so that new and upcoming musicians that show promise and talents, can be able to maintain their career and have a livable wage from it. Now, the second part of this too is, how are we going to determine who is that new and upcoming artist? Now, obviously, we have things like streaming stats that can really indicate that, but that is just one aspect of it, because we can kind of inflate streaming. There's artificial streaming. I have a video about how my music was artificially inflated, unfortunately, and we have ways we can kind of, circumvent the streaming aspect, but also ways that streaming is trying to correct that. So streaming isn't necessarily a reliable aspect to determine how successful someone's going to be, but it's one thing we should always consider. We can look at ticket sales, we can look at social media presence, and maybe even do focus groups. But what will really be powerful are some scouts, and honestly, other musicians. If Billy Joe from Green Day was like, hey, this is a musician that I think is great, they're making great music, I like this music, I think they need to be someone that keeps an eye on, I would take that recommendation a lot more seriously than just, someone randomly on the internet, because he's done music and what he's talking about. So I think labels not only should pay attention to social media and streaming, but they should also maybe develop some talent scouts, and maybe they have them and we just don't really know about them, or they're just not very public or in that eye. I'm sure they do have them inside their A&R departments, but that's what I would really focus on developing if this conversation was going to go forward, to where we would give up-and-coming artists a livable wage and health insurance and all those things, is making sure that we're picking the right people that we think are going to develop with talent scouts, being able to say, how do we think they're going to be based on, streams, performances, and then being able to reinvest into these people as well, give them tools, if they need piano lessons or, a vocal coach or anything like that to really develop and become a better artist, to give them those things. And I'm sure labels kind of already do those things, but this is, if we're going to look at it in the perspective of Chappell Roan's argument, it needs to be done as a partnership, not just, hey, you're going to do all this stuff so that you make us money and that's it. And it's, labels got to pay for this stuff too, because their investment is in the musician and what they're going to make and what they're going to create, not just in you're making this and we own it. It has to be more a partnership. So that's what I think Chappell Roan is really trying to have at the end of the day, is less pressure on artists to, have to do a full-time job or a part-time job and, do a social media, be a video editor, make YouTube videos, and then make their music all on top of that. That's a lot of pressure, and it takes up a lot of time, and it can really eat at your mental health. I mean, I have a full-time job, and I'm making a video every single day, and I'm working on music so I can release a song every 2 weeks, and I've got other stuff going on in my life too. I host a podcast over comic books, so if I didn't have my full-time job, but I had the confidence to know that I'm going to have a paycheck and I'm going to have health insurance at the end of the day, that would give me a lot more peace of mind, and I'd be able to work on other things without, feeling so much pressure. So ultimately, I believe Chappell's goal with this conversation was, we're owed things a little bit as an artist because we make so much money for labels, and in turn, they need to be giving us something. And the easiest thing that you can do is give us peace of mind of where we're going to be getting our money. We're going to get a fair amount of our money, and we don't have to worry about, health insurance. And I think this is mostly coming from where she was when she got dropped from the label. She was a middle tier artist, and she made that comeback all on her own. So again, this is all just a whole bunch of what ifs. And I think it is beneficial for artists to have these things that Chappell Roan is saying, health insurance, livable wages, but it's only for a select group of people that are proven to show that they do have that capability to become a bigger artist, or their music's going to be popular. It's not going to be for everybody, which I think is what everyone's going to run away with from her remarks is, every musician. Not every musician is going to be crazy popular. They're not going to fall into that category. It's for people that are up and coming, that show promise and show talent. It's like the people that are in the minor leagues of baseball that are getting ready to go to the major leagues. Those are the people you want to develop and really make sure they have the ability to make it into the major leagues and have that good partnership with. So I think those are the people that Chappell is really trying to get labels to recognize and support, because they're on the pinnacle of making it to the big leagues, but they need to not do a 9-to-5. They need to be able to have health insurance, livable wage, so they can spend more time on their craft. So there's a lot going on from a short statement, and I think people will hopefully take it the right way, but I'm afraid they might take it the wrong way. So if you are, that middle tier artist right now, you could go through Indie-Fi and do your own thing. But if someone from a record label is, thinking about what Chappell Roan says, do your own thing. People are going to go to Indie-Fi probably if they're at that middle tier anyway. This is a good opportunity for you to compete and say the labels are still relevant and not fading out. But that's just what I think. What do you guys think? Do you agree with Chappell Roan? Do you have a different take on where we are in the music industry when it comes to labels and streaming, and can artists even afford to make a livable wage and be able to do it full time and not have a part-time or full-time job? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.